Hello and welcome to the channel, where today we're going to be talking about the X-Men issue 8 from November 1964 and the uncanny threat of Unus the Untouchable. So who is Unus? Why is he untouchable? How much of a danger is he? It looks very dangerous looking at this front page. So let's take a look and break it down. Now, this front cover is suggesting straight away that Unus is going to be as powerful as all five combined. I'm just going to take a quick moment to talk about these two in particular. So we've got Jean back in her skull cap, I'm going to call it. So she's had the skull cap, then horns, then like a Spider-Woman type mask last issue. And now we've got Bobby, who's looking more like an Iceman rather than a snowman. So when the series first started, he looked more like a snowman, but this is getting closer to the Bobby that I know. So let's open it up and take a look inside. On this page one spread, we've got a nice little danger room set up here, and we've got Scott, who is described as the new interim leader, which certainly suggests that Charles will return at some point. But interesting that Scott is in a green suit, reminiscent, of course, of Charles's green suit. So that's suggesting he's very much stepping into those shoes. But Scott being in a suit and watching them in the danger room is a little bit jarring. I would expect him to be training with them. This is the thing we've been talking about in the last issue as Scott the captain versus Scott, interim leader in Charles's shoes. So at the moment, it is very much office based, I guess, this new role. But I expect him to go into the field with the crew shortly. So that's page one. Let's take a look at page two. So Scott traps Angel in this weird-looking device, and Angel's not happy about it. You've got all these gadgets, we've only got our powers, but that's the whole point of the danger room, right? This is pretty much what Scott says. If it was easy, you wouldn't need to come in here. And this, even Angel's been the one harking on about how much his ability has improved from being in the danger room. So Bobby laughs, but Cyclops takes the opportunity to zap his ice pick, as they've been calling it on the page. And it's just a nice way for new readers, I guess, to see that Cyclops is a mutant like the other guys and has powers also. But these two panels are the ones that are interesting to me. So it's like a yes moment, finally. We've got Snowman becoming Iceman. And we talked about it on the front page, didn't we, that he was looking a bit more icy. And here it is a case of he has, by increasing the degree of cold, his body has become even more icy, making you almost transparent. That is the Bobby Iceman that I know. And we're finally getting closer to my sort of mind's eye version of Bobby. Well, there's a couple of great moments on the page that I really like. But first of all, let's talk about Jean's mental prowess is apparently improving. So she's doing some very fine stitchery work, I guess. And she appears to have improved on her time. So I think that does a couple of things that shows that Scott is a very good interim leader because he's pushing them to improve. But it shows that she is improving as well. It's good that all through these issues, it has shown an improvement from that first issue. And they talk about it regularly, how they are gaining, I keep calling it gaining XP and leveling up. And I think that's another case of that here. But what is good in this panel especially is Scott has these thoughts about Jean, about how much he loves her and how gorgeous her lips are. And we saw it in the last issue, didn't we, where Warren was musing that he thought Jean was looking at him in a certain way and how had he not noticed. But typical Scott, he puts it to the back of his mind, I've got a job to do, I'm the leader, I can't get involved. And that so thoroughly Scott through and through. He has a bit of back and forth with Beast about the danger room and the dangers of their enemies and being ready and leveling up because they're leveling up too. And then it's down in this panel where it sort of ties up with this one up here, where he gives them the afternoon off and they ask Scott if he wants to come with them and he can't. And it's this bit down here where Jean says, oh, if only you felt about me as I do about you, but you don't. So it's one of them classic things where they're thinking about each other, but neither knows it. And I mean, it's great because even as a fan from the future, I'm still rooting for him and excited to see how this develops. And I know what the end result is, of course, but I'm still really excited about watching it unfold on the page. So we just have a quick turn of events on this page where Bobby and Beast are walking down the street in Greenwich, and they look up and there looks to be a little boy trapped on this roof. There's a crowd gathering, and this is where Hank says, I'm going to go up there, I'm going to help, and it's secret identity be damned, I've got to help the boy. Yeah, as good heroes will do, and he's lucky. It's mentioned down here that no one has seen his face. It's just I've said it a couple of times where I don't know that the X-Men of the future are really that bothered about identities, and I don't think the public are either. And maybe that's just I've just not read issues where that's been brought up, but this seems very much more in the vein of like Spider-Man or something, where you've got these secret identities, and I just don't think that's something that's going to carry through into the future. This is an absolutely fantastic page. It's a leap forward in terms of X-Men lore. So we've been talking about it in previous editions where the X-Men have been seen as heroes and they've been working with the government, etc. And we talked about human sentiment and when that might change. Here it is. It has now changed. So Hank has saved the boy, rescued him, taken him back to the apartment down there. I don't know how he got up there, but he did, and he's returned safe and sound. But the crowd below have worked out he's a mutant, and it's this panel in particular in the middle. I've heard there are many such mutants hiding, waiting to take over the world. That is true. Magneto has been doing that, and I think that's a fair comment. And then this chap talks about how he was afraid of us, like he knew he's our enemy. And then it's this panel where they talk about mutants being dangerous and let's get him. And this is really the first time we have seen those sort of moments of humans turning on mutants. And this is going to carry forward to modern day, isn't it? So this is the first time in X-Men comics that I think that we've seen that. And this is issue 8. So it's a really big moment, that. So they run away and they get back to the mansion, and Hank's looking in all sorts of ways here, and he says, I've had enough. This I'm through. So let's see how Scott handles this. Some interesting moments here. So Hank sensationally quits the X-Men, and this is a fascinating panel up here. Why are we risking our lives for humans? They hate us, want to destroy us, and maybe Magneto's right. I think this is the first instance of Magneto was right being used. That meme I think I've seen around. But this really cuts the heart of X-Men, doesn't it? Why are we protecting the humans when they hate us? And that is a question that has been asked many times across comics, shows, movies, and it starts right here on this page. It's a slight retcon, I'm going to say, of the previous 7 issues where I think they've been quite happily coexisting with the humans. I think this is the first time it's been mentioned that there's any such problem. But they are now saying it like it's a fact that's well known. So I guess that is sort of the status quo and presenting it as it has always been that way, perhaps. But anyway, Hank's had enough. Off he goes. And Scott says this is something that needs to be escalated to the boss, to Charles. So he uses Cerebro. I'm a bit iffy about how this is all working exactly, because this isn't my understanding of how Cerebro works in modern day. But he uses it to contact Professor X, who, this is a great image, actually, by the way, with his eyes in the screen. But he's in the Brooklands. He's in a cave somewhere, and it's last place you'd expect him to be, isn't it? You know, especially with his disability. But he's in there, and I like this bit here. And you've got Scott's mental image floating around, and they're communicating telepathically thanks to Cerebro. And Charles says it's not your fault. You did all you could, and he's not going to join the Brotherhood. So it's all good, basically. Mighty fascinating page. A lot to break down and digest. First of all, Charles says he's on the trail of Lucifer, and just sort of it's like a mic drop. I'll tell you about it later. So as a reader, I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're on the trail of Lucifer? But sort of leaves it there, and he'll tell him about it one day, and hopefully we'll get to find out what's going on there too. Sometimes you get a little box with an asterisk to say referring to another issue. So when I was reading it, I wondered if he was in another comic somewhere, but no, apparently not. So we might get as a flashback at some point. But Hank says he's off. See you later. Don't even try and follow me. And what I do is my business. Cut to the next panel, and it's a week later, and Beast is a wrestler. So I guess that's where he's landed on his feet, and it sort of makes sense in some ways because of his agility, and it's a quick buck. Hank thinks he's going to be a millionaire within a year. We'll see how that turns out. But in this panel, it is the first mention of Unus, who's the chap on the front page. We got to page 7. And I was wondering where this story was going with that chap, but Here he is, and it appears to be Beast's opponent. So Beast jumps out the cage and into the ring. And I really like this bit here where it says, ladies and gentlemen. It's like you can almost hear that ring announcer. It's a really good effect. And he's across the ring from Unus, and let's see how they get on. It becomes apparent quite quickly that Unus is no ordinary man. He may even be a mutant, in fact. So Beast rushes him, but he bounces off like a ping pong, and they're sort of leaping around each other. And he's definitely a fair match for Beast, which tells me that there's more than meets the eye. So Beast is, of course, hiding his powers. He's not coming out and saying he's a mutant, and neither is this guy. But he, nice little cliffhanger on the page. He builds up some momentum and dives on him. And he leaves it to us to turn the page to find out what's going to happen next. So Beast bounces from Unus and he calls himself Untouchable. And if I'm really looking deep into that picture, it looks like he hasn't actually touched him. He's bounced off above him. I might be reading too much into that, and we'll see as the comic progresses. But it certainly seems like maybe he has some sort of force field or something around him, something that protects him. We'll see. But it bounces Beast clear out the ring, and he's getting a hard time from the crowd. But as he looks over his shoulder, who does he see? It's his mastermind in the crowd. Very unmistakable is something else. And it helps a lot. I really like this artwork where everyone's sort of grayscale almost. And he's in colour, and it just really good effect to make him stand out. And then Beast comes to realise that something's happening between Unus and Mastermind, and they look at each other. And I like how they bring the match to a close with Beast being distracted and therefore loses. So he doesn't lose because Unus beats him. He loses because he's distracted. And it sort of saves face for Beast, I guess. Instead of being beaten up, it's his own fault for losing. But let's see what happens next. So it seems like it's all been a bit of an audition for Unus to get into the Brotherhood. Mastermind's been watching and says, we've had disappointments before, and it says down here they're referring to the Blob in the last issue where that didn't work out so well. But he can gain some favour if we can find one of the X-Men and maybe beat them. The irony being, of course, that he has just beaten one of the X-Men. Mastermind might have recognised that was Beast, but obviously he's not in his usual X-Men garb, so can be forgiven. But although he might have had an inkling, perhaps, if you'd been paying more attention, but we'll never know as the reader. So Unus wonders how he's going to be able to do that. He's walking down the street and he's witness to a bank robbery. Which direction this will go in, we don't know. Is he going to wait for the X-Men to turn up? But he's sort of suggesting he could make better use of the money himself, so we'll have to see. So Unus does swipe the money for himself and sort of thinks, well, if Magneto doesn't take me, perhaps I could start my own empire of crime. They start shooting him and the bullets fly off. One of them recognises him. Don't you know who that is? It's Unus the Untouchable. I don't know how he knows that because he doesn't look like how he did in the wrestling ring, but, maybe he's seen him before. I don't know. But the bullets ricochet around. And I thought, oh no, not another helicopter. They wrecked the last one in the last issue. Somehow they've got another one pretty quick. It's looking pretty snazzy as well, pretty futuristic. But as I thought, the X-Men are aware. I thought they were coming for the bank robbery, so I was only half right, but they're actually interested in Unus. Cerebro has detected this mutant presence, and they lament the fact that Beast isn't with them for this adventure, but the adventure must still be had. And it's here that Angel notices that the bank's been robbed, and he glides down under his own power to take a look around. Warren flies in there head first, and I think he's mistaken Unus for a bank robber. And as he's flying, he sort of realises, something's up. And I think this is a great little moment from this Unus chap. He decides, well, if I'm going to be a villain, I might as well have a distinctive costume. I do like that they take that moment to have him wearing a costume and explain why he's doing it, because you don't want your bad guy of the issue wearing a suit. You want him in this potentially cool outfit. And it's just I like that little moment of him telling us why he's getting changed, basically. That's the little moments. But Angel bounces off him, as we knew was going to happen. And Cyclops decides he's going to tackle him with his beam. And this is a really great little panel. You see all the beam bouncing around, and that's a cool effect. But Unus goes for Cyclops and he dodges him. And I think Cyclops has sort of clicked now that this guy can't be touched. What are we going to do? If he joins Magneto, what will happen to the X-Men? So, rightly so, they're sort of treating him as a mega threat, and I think they're right to do so. There's some cool moments I like here. So, Cyclops tries to land a punch on Unus and is unsuccessful, and Bobby's about to intervene, but Cyclops says, no, study him first. So he's sort of taking the hit and saying, instead of rushing in and helping me, watch him and look for some weakness. That's true leadership. We talked about that before with Scott. That is really good leadership. And he reveals that he does want to join Magneto's crew, and Scott's like, oh no, it's just as I thought. But this bit here is what I really like. Marvel Girl, Plan G5, quickly. So it seems like in his sessions in the Danger Room, they've been given code names to some maneuvers that they've been practicing. And that's a really good, effective way to show how they've been working as a team and practicing. And they talk about it as well, about the hours they put in the Danger Room. So Jean catches him telekinetically and lands him safely. And now he tells Bobby to try maneuver F12. So again, it's another code name, another move, and it looks like it has a little bit of effect because Unus does look a bit irked. Is there nothing you freaks can't do? So let's see how this develops. There's a lot to like on this page. I do enjoy it. So they've trapped him in this ice igloo, which is a bit silly actually. But they take the time to explain that he has got powers, but he's also been training and he's built up his strength and athleticism as a wrestler. And he talks about that as he breaks free. And he talks about shattering Bobby like glass, which is really dark actually. But Angel goes in, and I do you know what? Fair play to Angel, because as he goes in close, I thought that's a bit foolish because he could get ripped to pieces here. And even Unus says, all you've got are your wings and I'm going to break them. And what are you then? And I thought, yeah, what has he got? But what I didn't count on was what Angel would do next, which is fly him up in the sky. And with the threat of dropping him to his death, that is probably the only way I can think of as well, that you can stop this man at this point. And Unus says, you can't bluff me. I know you're not murderers. So let's see how this is resolved. But actually, this is one of those rare times that I've really enjoyed where as you're reading the panels and the story unfolds before your eyes, it sort of rewards you. And this was one of those moments where Angel's gone in close and I've started rolling my eyes. Oh, God, what's he done that for? But as he flies up, it was like a revelation. I thought, of course. And it was just a really great flow. I really enjoyed that one. So Angel leaves Unus at the top of this building. He says, I'm not going to kill you. I might not be so charitable next time, but there you go. That's a good way to sort of tackle him for now. And as he lands, they start wondering what they're going to do. This is a really great panel. I like panels that even if you take the words away, you can still infer what they're thinking and what's happening. So here with Cyclops with his hand on his chin and everyone looking a bit perplexed, they're thinking, damn, we've sorted him for now, but what's going to happen next time? What we're going to do? So the guys return to the mansion, but someone's home. It's Beast, and he's working on something. I'm not even going to try and read out what he says there. It's too wordy for me. But basically what he's saying is he's constructing a weapon to fight Unus, which is nice, actually, because a couple of panels ago, they said Beast wouldn't have been any help anyway because strength wouldn't have helped. And they had completely discounted his intelligence. So this is the other side of the coin for Beast, isn't it? He's as intelligent as he is strong. So he's showing us that now, and he's creating a weapon or a device, and I guess we'll have to see what it is. This page, unfortunately, I think is a little bit slapstick and silly. So Beast has invented this gun that will actually increase Unus's powers. There's obviously some sort of thought process as to how that will be helpful, but they don't hear him out. The X-Men, they have decided that he might have joined Magneto, actually. This harks back to the sort of earlier pages where they wondered if he would. I think it's a bit of a leap to automatically assume he is going to do that without actually asking him. They immediately go in for an attack, actually, look, and Cyclops almost blasts him, and Beast jumps out the window, and they're going to chase after him. We've got to stop him from helping Magneto. I mean, it's a bit contrived is probably the word I'm going to look for here, because I in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that the X-Men would believe he had quickly joined Magneto's team, despite what he said. And I think, as I would say in real life, it's a bit silly because obviously this is a comic book, they're comic book characters, but I would think in reality this could all have been ironed out with a quick 30-second discussion, but it doesn't happen that way. And for the story to progress, this is what needs to happen. So Beast exits, And somehow he knows where Unus's office is, why he's got an office, and ringing up Magneto to get a spot on the team. It seems a bit silly as well, but here's Beast. He's got his gun, and let's see if he uses it. Beast uses the gun on Unus, and Unus can feel it instantly. His power's increased, and Beast tests it. He bounces off from him, and it's just as everyone turns up. Oh no, what have you done? I can't believe it. You've turned on us. How could you betray us like this? And they're absolutely distraught, the X-Men. Unus thinks that he's joined Magneto as well, so that sort of feeds into the narrative that the comic wants you to believe, almost. It's almost going to be like a double turn, where I think some readers may believe that he has actually turned villainous. How it's not occurred to any of the X-Men that he might be trying to do something good. It's this panel down here where, wasn't it enough to desert us? You had to betray us as well. I did it for your own sake. So instead of just quickly explaining, no, Scott, there's a reason. Hang on, just let me explain. But he doesn't do that. And it's one of those things you see where they are drawing this out a little bit more than it needs to be for the sake of the story. And here is where Beast's plan comes to fruition. So he thinks, absolutely brilliant. Wait till Magneto hears that one of the X-Men actually helped me because he was so scared of me and wanted my favor. And he can now manipulate objects around him. So he pushes this chair away just by pushing his hand near it. This is great. But when he actually wants to touch something, he can't because of what Beast has done by augmenting his powers. And now he's wondering, what's going on? What's happened to me? So I'm thinking, well, you can't even eat or drink. So he's probably going to have to come around to the X-Men and ask Beast to help him get his powers back down under control. But even I, as a reader, wasn't quite sure where Hank was going with this, but here's his plan all come to fruition. So let's see how it unfolds. So as I suspected, Unus, he needs a steak immediately, and he can't eat the food. He can't touch anything. So he's going to be becoming desperate very quickly. And still, Beast has not explained himself. He just says, wait, you'll see. All of this drama could be avoided in 10 seconds. But he doesn't because the story doesn't want it to. They've got this really weird contraption where they encase Beast and Cyclops in this plastic bubble as a portable prison. And they get a phone call from Bobby, come quick, something's happening with Unus downtown. So they get back in the helicopter number 2, and they zoom straight across to see what's going on. And this is it now. The plan comes to a conclusion because Unus is absolutely desperate for a cure. So he's absolutely he's starving. I don't know how long it's been since Beast hit him with the ray, but he's so hungry he immediately folds and he begs Beast to put him back. But Beast will under certain conditions. If I do, you never contact Magneto, stay out of trouble, or we'll blast you and you'll be that way for good. And he says, absolutely no problem. I've had enough of this superhero game. I'm going back to wrestling where I belong. And this panel down here, I had to laugh because Scott says, deep down, I never really lost faith in you, Hank. Well, I think he sort of did. I don't buy that. And the rest of the crew say, well, that's what makes you a great leader. But yeah, I don't know about that. I think Scott did doubt him, and I think he doubted him quite a lot. He just put him in a bubble a minute ago. But I knew all along. Don't worry about it. And that brings us to an end. So this little panel at the bottom, it's over, and we'll see you next time. I'm really curious to see what's coming up next. But a quick word about this issue. I thought it was a nice little adventure. So in the previous issue, I said that the conflict with the Brotherhood was getting a bit stale, and I think it was. I think they sort of run out of things that they could do. There's only so many times you can put them up against each other in different scenarios before it gets old. And this has been a nice little break, a reset to the story, just a one-off villain. To my knowledge, I don't believe we see Unus again. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall ever having seen him before or since. But that's a nice little adventure, done and dusted. And at the same time, it has shown that Scott's grown as a leader. The team have grown in terms of ability, coordination, attacks. I mean, that F12 business, G5, I thought that was really great. That was probably my favorite takeaway from the issue, as well as Bobby's increased ice skills. So I liked how it went from snowy to ice. That was a really, really great development, and that pleased me greatly. So let's take a quick look at the next issue. Well, before we do that, we saw one of these with Cyclops, didn't we? So we've got Hank. He's balancing on this bit of rope here, and it's a nice pin-up, so you can rip it out the back of the comic and put it on your wall next to the Cyclops one we've already had. Oh, wow, this looks absolutely incredible. I am geekily actually very excited, genuinely, for the next issue. So we've got our first Avengers versus X-Men crossover, and it looks like they are fighters. So see Thor, is that Ant-Man, Giant Man, Captain America, Iron Man, and they're taking on the X-Men here. I love it. I can't wait. But if that wasn't enough, you got this little bit down here where Professor X is in this like tank thing here, and here's Lucifer randomly. Wow. Okay, this looks action packed. If I was in the 60s and I saw this cover, I would absolutely have to have it. And I'm so excited to do my next video with these guys. So if you enjoyed this video, you're looking forward to watching this next one, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you soon for the X-Men versus the Avengers. See you then.